was sitting at my desk in the supply office, and I was looking at the desktop, and I had all these bills and invoices and statements, and I was trying to reconcile them. And all of a sudden, it felt like something literally, I felt it crawl up my spine and into the back of my head, and it was like my perception of reality just shifted. And it was a, can I cuss? It was an oh shit moment. I was like, what in the world is going on?
Crazy.
Somebody that needs help.
You have the stereotype of mental illness, you know, and mental illness takes multiple forms that you have to know to recognize.
There's a wide range of perceptions on mental health issues. You have people who have a diagnosis who don't understand it. You have people in the community who don't have any direct interaction with people with mental health issues who have preconceived notions, and it can range anywhere from tolerant to very condescending. In 1996, I came to Wichita Falls through Shepherd Air Force Base as a firefighter, and I was living the dream. I was driving the big red fire truck, and life was great. The girls loved me, and I loved them, and everything was going along peachy keen until I was transferred from the floor where I was on the fire trucks to the supply office. And so I was a little overwhelmed by the responsibility, and I had like a couple of $1 million interest inventory and a government credit card with a $30,000 a month limit on it. So I was a little overwhelmed at 22 by what they had asked me to take over. So eventually I had to admit myself to the hospital, and I went to 2 North. That's the part of the hospital where the mental health people are. And I stayed there for 16 days. It was the most horrible 16 days of my life. And then they processed me out of the Air Force because they didn't need me because I was mentally unstable. And right off the bat, I went to Helen Fair because I had some schooling in psychology. And I didn't go as a client, I went to apply for a job. After 2 weeks of working there, I went in one day before anybody got there, and on a Post-it note I wrote, "I quit," and put my key on it and put it on my boss's desk. And the next day I came to Helen Farabee seeking services. And then the psychiatrist at Helen Farabee told me that I was what's called bipolar 1 with psychosis.
Bipolar 1 used to be manic depressive disorder. It's one of the few conditions that one symptom will give you that diagnosis, and that one symptom is a manic episode. Psychosis means that in one way or another they're out of touch with reality. Basically, we're talking hallucinations or delusions or thought disorder.
A lot of what helps me now is I do take a medication that helps slow my brain down at night, and it's an antipsychotic, so it helps to deal with the delusions and the hallucinations. Because even when I'm healthy, I have highs and lows, and I have moments when I think I hear something or see a shadow out of the corner of my eye. And I like the experience of human emotion at its extremes, because I feel like it's given me a level of understanding that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have the mood disorder.
One of the main problems is, you know, there's a normal range of mood, okay? And a lot of people who are bipolar, their normal mood is up here. When they take the meds, it lowers their mood to a point that we would consider to be in the normal range, but it feels depressed to them.
First thing that comes to mind, I guess, is disability and support. And first thing that comes in the back of my mind is, how do they get along? Where do they get their funding, that kind of thing. I worry about people who have mental illness.
Oh, a lot of people think people are making it up, but you know, if I don't have my medicines, even when I do have my medicines, there's days I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't want to see another person. I don't want to talk to another person. I'd rather just be by myself, all alone. You know, almost dead. You know, you know. But I know there's people out who's got it worse than I do. I guarantee you. You know, as long as I keep my medicines in me, I can make a 20-hour work week.
There are a lot of words that trigger people: crazy, psychotic, whacked. You know, there are a lot of different words that are stigmatizing, and I think for me, I just consider the source a lot of times, and I think that we have a long way to go to educate the public and even our own families about what the diagnosis means.
People shy away from mental health. They hear that for the longest time family members would keep that quiet, or just lack of education, and so there's that stigma around it that keeps that ignorance there. People don't know that they're normal people who have the ability to do great things.
I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old with major depression. My father was in the military, so I was diagnosed at the air base. The stigma of having a diagnosis of a mental illness, my father wasn't comfortable with that, so they sought treatment for me in town.
The first symptom of major depression is overwhelming sadness, but it's beyond that. Some people can't eat at all when they're depressed. Some people, that's all they want to do is eat. Changes in sleep patterns. Some people can't sleep at all. Some people, that's all they want to do is sleep. But we also then have changes in thinking patterns. It's hard to concentrate, feelings of guilt, worthlessness, considerably increased risk of suicide because it's an overwhelming sense of sadness and futility and negativity.
Every time I saw the little Sesame Street thing that says which one of these things is not like the other, I was the oldest of 5 kids, and I was that thing that wasn't like the other. So if I just had the encouragement back then of someone telling me, it's going to get better and you're going to feel a part of everything else, it's just going to take a little work, I think it would have helped me. My first inkling that I could do something for myself and that I could actually achieve the things that everybody dreams about in their life actually started when I was in school here at Midwestern State. And I went to the psychology department, and I had an intern that spoke to me on a peer level and shared with me that they believed that I could do it. And no one, I mean, my family had kind of said, oh, you can do it, come on, you can do anything. But to have someone that actually understood where I was coming from and disclosed to me that they also had a diagnosis, that was the first time that anyone was really real with me about it. 2 years ago, I was seeing my case manager, and she said, we have a position opening for peer providers. And I was like, oh, what's that? And she said, well, one of the requirements is you have to have a diagnosis. And the other one is that you'll work with other people who have diagnosis and help them to navigate their illness, their medications, learn coping skills and all of this. And it was very intriguing to me because I've always been a person who wants to help other people.
Now I have 5 peer providers under me, and I'm the director of peer services, and now it's like there's 5 extensions of me and what I did for so long, so we're reaching more and more people in the community, and we're providing hope and letting them know that recovery is possible. And along the way, I have met some wonderful people.
All of our case managers, we encourage them to use peer support. The peer providers do groups. They also do individual. They'll meet with the clients individually. They have a whole health program that they work with the clients. So I encourage my case managers to have their clients meet with the peer providers, and just kind of sometimes meeting with a peer who's been there through it all can kind of help take away that feeling of being overwhelmed.
I give the example a lot of times a man can't understand what it's like to give birth. No matter how much we explain it, he'll never truly understand that. So it's the same thing with a mental health issue or even a medical issue. I mean, if you don't have diabetes, you can explain all day, but you can't understand what it's like when your blood sugar drops or when it spikes. So you can get an idea, but you can never really truly walk alongside that person because they don't, get it. And a lot of our clients will ask that. They'll say, how can you help me? And I'm able to say, because I've been there and I've dealt with it.
There's too many people walking around that really need help, and a lot of times if they're homeless or they don't have very much money, they tend to just kind of move them to the side and don't do nothing with them. And I don't think you should do that to anybody.
I don't feel any different towards anybody that has bipolar or schizophrenia. I don't know, I just feel like they're all the same.
We're no different from anybody else. We're just like, we're human,
I think the biggest thing that I can tell people and that I do tell people is we're all the same. We all have labels. And just because my label might say that I have a mental illness or I have depression doesn't make me any different than anyone else. I'm still a mother. I'm still a daughter. I'm still a grandmother. I've been a student. I'm an employee. I do all the same things that everyone else does every day. It's just I might look at it differently, or it might take me a little bit longer depending on the situation that I'm in. But everyone has good days and bad days.
Every person at some point in their life are going to feel inadequate, are going to feel stressed, or overwhelmed by life and the situations that come up. And I just want everybody to know that with help from your friends, your family, and professionals, all of these issues, you can deal with them.
That's my saving grace, I think, is understanding that I'm not really different. I might have a different situation, but I'm just like anybody else. I can still do those things.
Today I choose to rise and greet another day, even though yesterday I had lost my will. I choose to try again. Fortunately, today is a happy Tuesday. I might not have risen, or if I had, it may not have been with the same resolve. Today I see my destiny, I claim it, I embrace it, and I define it.
Been feeling kind of lonely. The world's done brought me down. I've been feeling kind of lonely. The world's done brought me down. Oh, I'm looking out this window.